Right now, though, it's my pleasure every single Tuesday to start the second hour. We talked to my man Derreck Stingley Sr., coach over there at the Dunham School, secondary expert. Coach Sting, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Good morning, guys. I'm doing well. How y'all?
Doing well, doing well. So we want to talk a little LSU. Then I want to sort of pick your brain on some high school matters. First, though, Jake's been over here looking at starter jackets. He has found a Houston Oilers powder blue starter jacket that is absolutely lovely. I have to imagine, Coach, did you ever have a starter jacket that was close to your heart?
I sure did.
Yeah.
I did. Born and raised in Chicago, I had the DePaul basketball starter jacket that I wore religiously for about a year.
That's like a nice deep cut. That's kind of hipster, right? Because you could have gone with Bulls. You could have gone with the main teams rocking the DePaul for a year. What happened to it? Do you still have it?
No, I do not. No.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure if I did, I couldn't fit it no more.
Somewhere in the starter jacket heaven in the sky. Rest in peace to the DePaul starter. Speaking of starters, though, spring ball is a lot of like where that stuff's going to be decided, or at least going into fall camp. You go to every scrimmage. What were your big takeaways from Saturday?
Man, Jay Ward, man, playing safety. He was flying around making plays. He's being aggressive. That's just his nature to be aggressive. But I mean, he was a headhunter. I don't think too many guys wanted to come across the middle with him.
Damn.
But it was a good thing to see because we just hadn't seen that from the safety position in a minute, and he just brought that physicality back to that position. He has pretty good ball skills and things like that. But overall, I thought that the defense played well. Offense, they wound up stretching the ball a little bit against the defense, but I mean those guys were still flying around and competing and making plays. I mean the quarterbacks, they all look good to me. I mean they all got some times with the first team, made some good throws here and there, but I thought Jay. I'm just going back just over my mental thoughts. Jay really played a real good scrimmage.
That's great. We keep hearing that, man.
Yeah, and I kind of want to ask you, since obviously you coach defensive backs at a high level, what's that transition like? So Jay being a cornerback, and that's kind of what he's known. So you make that transition to free safety. What are some of the things that he has to have to be able to make that move?
Well, first of all, you got to be a great tackler because now you're more in space, meaning like you got to run the alleys a little bit. The running backs or receivers, they have more of a two-way goal. Opposed to you being a corner, you can use the sideline, to help, get the ball carrier out of bounds. But Jay, like I say, he has this aggressive nature anyway. So he's a guy, he's already physical. He's going to come up and make those plays and make those tackles. But then at the same time, you have to communicate. You got to have some real communication skills. It's a little different from the corner position where, most time in the corner position, you're either on our sideline and you can get the calls easily, or if you're on the opposite sideline, it may just be a signal here or there. But when you're in the middle safety, sometimes you got to get everybody else right because you got all these motions and checks and just got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So if you're not used to being a communicator, that's one thing that you have to do better if you're making that transition from corner to safety.
And Coach O, just 30 minutes ago, Coach came on here and said that he felt like the last 3 games last year, Ward played like an All-American. And I just think back to some of the plays that he made. The Arkansas TFL and the block kick, the Florida pick. Like he really and I know you work with all these guys. Like, do you know where that kind of turn came from? Like what did something click? Do you have any way of explaining how Ward was able to come on so strong and now looks to be carrying that forward even more?
Well, the one thing I noticed about Jay was like when I would work those guys out, he didn't look like real technically sound, but he would get from point A to point B, and I always would say, man, Jay is like a bull in a china shop. He just gets there, but he's a brute at the same time. And that's not to say anything bad about him not being technically sound, but I just thought that he had a little wasted motion in some things, but it worked for him, meaning he was still that guy that was able to make a break and get there as fast as he could. And with Jay, I just think it was just opportunity, man. I mean, he came in with a class where you had Sting, you had You had Jay, you had Cordell, you had Ray Darius. So now you got all these corners, and they're all freshmen, and they all want to get on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And with Jay, it's probably, I'll do whatever it takes. And, I know he stepped up last year when Sting was out a little bit, and then now he got his opportunity. Possibly he's probably going to be one of the starting safeties. And, they're going to have, all their top guys out there on the field, whether it's, Jay, Cordell, Eli, or Sting. So I don't know who his other safety is going to be. It could very well be Todd. I think Todd is out right at the moment. Jordan's getting a lot of reps, but the other position is up for grabs. But if Jay keeps doing what he's doing, he's probably going to hold that position down as a free safety.
And, Coach, as we all know, like, you have to work in unison on that side of the football. I mean, too many times last year we saw that, and it can't be individual guys making plays. It's got to be a team effort. And the linebacker position is one that really struggled a year ago. They weren't put in the best position to succeed. And so I know you've got to enjoy hearing a guy like Bugg Strong has been stepping up and stepping out in practice as well, because that's also a position. You've got Damone Clark coming back. We've seen what he can be in 2019 when put in the right position, but I know that kind of shores some things up if that position is able to succeed.
Oh, no doubt. I remember when I first saw Strong out there, I didn't know who he was. I just was at practice, and all of a sudden I just heard, ta, ta, ta. I said, who is 22? I said, this kid here, he would try to run through your chest. I said,
Yep.
Golly. I said, we need that. And that was when I first saw him. And then that's what he's known for. I mean, I think that's what a lot of people talk about, him being like a thumper and a headbanger. And it's, he brings it now. I mean, he's going to be a guy that's, I think, going to be all over the field. I know we're supposed to have another kid coming in from Clemson, I believe. I forget his name.
Mike Jones.
Mike Jones.
Yeah. And that's probably going to help out at the linebacker position as well, build some depth and some strong competition right there. So, it's a good thing to have that, because last year, I thought linebackers and the safety position and even at some point the corner position kind of was our Achilles heels at times because of lack of communication or talent, either one. But it looks like now, Coach O did a good job of, identifying the problem and figuring out what we have to do to make sure we got some good players there that's going to compete hard.
Coach, another position group, just sticking kind of with the defensive theme. We talked a lot of D-line earlier because they look pretty complete, like young, old, inside, outside. You're a defensive coach, much better defensive mind than either of us. Like, how do you think this LSU D-line is shaping up?
Man, I think they have so much depth there. And if you never in your life stood next to Mason Smith, he's a freaking giant, man.
We keep hearing about this cat, dude. And they said they had like 3 sacks on Saturday.
Man, no, he can move the crowd by himself. I mean, he's one of those guys that, once he puts it together and once he become, sure of himself and playing the SEC ball, he's gonna be a difference maker. He's elite. I can tell you that right now. And then, just with all the guys we have coming back, that helps. That helps with depth. I think Jaquelin Roy is good up in the middle as well. So you just got so many guys that can do so many different things up front, and then we have that experience as well. Last year, the whole season was kind of out of whack with COVID and opt-outs and opt-back-ins, and we didn't know who was going to be where, and we didn't transition from a 3-4 to a 4-3. But now we kind of understand our roles. Everybody kind of gets it to the point where you can see that line is being moved a little bit. But I got to tell you this, offense is giving some resistance too. It's not just that defense is being some bullies, but they make their plays, but offense is holding on as well, meaning the offensive line.
And, Coach, obviously paying attention to the defensive backs as much as you do, I'm sure you've seen some receivers that have really played well in the spring so far as well. Anybody stand out to you?
Well, I tell you who's standing out to me, and this name may shock a lot of people, is D. Lee.
Yeah, Devonta Lee.
Coach O just mentioned him.
In there at the end.
Okay, yeah. Well, I tell you what, he's making some grabs that, like, strong hand grabs. Like, I remember when we played on the 7-on-7 circuit with him and Derreck, and he was our go ball guy. Like, we'll just throw a go ball up to, and he would just basically moss somebody because he was so strong and so big with big hands. And, it took a minute for him to even get that type of, opportunities because, his first year you had Chase and Jefferson and Terrence, and then last year I think they tried him out at linebacker. Then he went back to wide receiver, so he was low in the depth chart. Now he's getting some reps, and he is making some plays. He's getting off the press. He's running that slant really well. I mean, he made a crazy catch in the scrimmage this past weekend where, it was all hands. His body was stretched out. It was like a body control. Like it was something that I remember him doing way back when we were doing 7-on-7. I said, that's a Devonta Lee I know. So he's stepping up. So I'm proud of him. I'm glad he's getting his opportunity. And then you get the regular names like Kayshawn and Corey. They're doing their things. And Jeray Jenkins, he's still that guy. He's so solid. In my opinion, I think he's one of the better route runners on the team. So, that unit is, they're solid. They all do well with what they can do. But my surprise most definitely is D. Lee, and I'm happy for him.
Love to hear it. Coach Derreck Stingley Sr., defensive backs coach over there at the Dunham School. Coach, thank you so much for joining us each and every Tuesday, man. Rest in peace to the DePaul starter jacket, and you have an excellent day.
I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.
Man, that DePaul, I didn't want to use the word hipster, but what a wonderful hipster choice if you're from Chicago, right? Like, that's how you're really from Chicago. You avoid the Bears, you avoid the Cubs, the White Sox, anybody, and you go with DePaul. Dwayne Wade would be proud somewhere out there.
Oh, well, he went to Marquette. But
well, I screwed that up.
Let's go to break. He would still be proud.
Let's go to break. Wow. I took a shot. It's kind of like geography. I took a shot. Germany's not landlocked in Dwayne Wade.